Imagine a world where two completely different human species stood face to face on the same planet. On one side, Homo sapiens, lean, clever, and highly social. On the other, Neanderthals, broader, more muscular, and built to survive the most brutal cold on Earth. For nearly 300,000 years, Neanderthals ruled Europe and Asia. They weren't primitive brutes, they made fire, crafted tools, and even buried their dead. By every measure, they were a successful, intelligent species. Then, roughly 40,000 years ago, they vanished. Every single one of them. Gone forever. Most people assume it was a sudden disaster, a volcano, a plague, a meteor. But the real story is far more unsettling. The extinction of the Neanderthals wasn't an accident. It was the slow, ruthless outcome of an evolutionary arms race, one that our ancestors won completely. How did a physically weaker species defeat one of the toughest creatures to ever walk the earth? We'll answer that in 3 chapters, and the last one will make you question whether the Neanderthals ever truly disappeared at all. Chapter 1. In a one-on-one fight, a Neanderthal would destroy a Homo sapien without breaking a sweat. Their muscle density and bone structure were significantly heavier and more powerful, but that very strength was their greatest weakness. A bigger, heavier body requires more fuel. Neanderthals needed roughly twice the calories of Homo sapiens just to survive. That meant they could never afford to live in large groups. Most Neanderthal bands had only 15 to 30 individuals. Any larger, and they simply couldn't feed everyone. Homo sapiens, meanwhile, stumbled upon something far more powerful than muscle: language. Not just functional communication, but the ability to gossip, tell stories, and build social bonds with strangers. Anthropologists call this vocal grooming, and it allowed Homo sapien tribes to scale up to 150 people or more. When the two species competed for the same territory, it wasn't 20 versus 20, it was 20 Neanderthals against 150 Homo sapiens. Coordinated, organized, and relentless. Individual strength collapsed under the weight of collective strategy. Numbers and teamwork beat raw power every single time. Chapter 2. Neanderthals had spent thousands of years mastering one specific environment, the frozen tundra of Ice Age Europe. Their bodies were perfectly engineered for the cold, stocky frames, shorter limbs, dense insulation. Then, around 45,000 years ago, the climate stopped cooperating. Europe entered a period of intense volatility, wildly swinging between extreme cold and unexpected warmth. Dense forests began disappearing, replaced by open grasslands. This was catastrophic for Neanderthals. Their hunting method, ambush hunting, depended on dense cover. They would hide in vegetation and strike large animals at close range. Out in the open, that strategy was useless. Homo sapiens adapted almost immediately. They developed long-range weapons, javelins, and eventually bows and arrows, allowing them to hunt fast-moving animals across open terrain without ever getting close. Neanderthals, locked into their old methods, couldn't make the shift. As their prey became harder to catch, their calorie deficit grew worse. Populations crashed, territories shrunk, and Homo sapiens quietly moved in to fill the gaps. It wasn't a war. It was a slow displacement driven by adaptability or the lack of it. Chapter 3. Here's where the story takes its most unexpected turn. Modern genetics has revealed something remarkable. Homo sapiens didn't just outcompete Neanderthals, they interbred with them. When our ancestors migrated out of Africa into Europe, the two species didn't only fight, they also had children together. And because Homo sapiens outnumbered the Neanderthals by perhaps 10 to 20 times, each generation diluted the Neanderthal genetic identity further and further, until there was no distinct Neanderthal population left, only fragments, absorbed into a much larger human gene pool. The proof? Your DNA. If you are of non-African descent, between 1% and 2% of your genetic code is Neanderthal. Some of our cold weather resilience, certain immune responses, and aspects of our skin biology all inherited from them. Neanderthals didn't disappear into the ground. In a very real sense, they disappeared into us. The story of the Neanderthals carries one clear lesson. Evolution doesn't reward the strongest, it rewards the most adaptable. Neanderthals were physically superior in almost every way, but they lived in small, isolated groups, relied on fixed strategies, and couldn't pivot when the world changed around them. Homo sapiens were weaker, but they communicated, collaborated, scaled, and adapted. And now, in a world being reshaped at extraordinary speed by technology and AI, the same question applies to all of us. Are you learning, adapting, and building new capabilities for the world that's coming, or are you holding on to old methods in a rapidly changing landscape and slowly becoming obsolete? The Neanderthals didn't see it coming. We don't have that excuse.